Hello, my friends and fellow speakers. This is Brian, the Speaker for the Dead, coming to you today with a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a long while. The problem with talking about this topic is that you get one of usually two responses. It's either, yeah, or I hate you. So, or something along those lines. It's right in there. So today we are going to be talking about Twilight, the series of books and the series of films. So and this is open for literally anybody, any opinion, however you see this. It literally is for all different opinions on this subject. Whether you like it, whether you hate it, why do you hate it? Why do you like it? We're going to be kind of covering the gambit of this subject today because, well, I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be discussed. It's one of those things that it was a huge cultural phenomenon. Hail Lady Mist, and also Cred Sox 5 who are in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. You gals, ladies, golly people, guys anymore. You get stabbed by feminists come out of the wall and just stab. Anyway, no, but I'm so glad you're here. I have to be honest. I was raised on a farm. I'm a country kid. I consider myself a pretty decent, manly man, I guess you could say. But I love the Twilight series books. They are very well written. I think the characters are very well done. I really, really do love the book series. The film series, on the other hand, is it's just tragic what they did with the film series. And I know a lot of the bad feelings towards this particular series is due to the fact that they did make the films, and the films didn't follow the books as well as they should have. And the casting. Also, I know that there was a lot of people that were upset, especially in like the convention going groups, literally because they felt like Twilight invaded the conventions, invaded Comic-Con, invaded these places and it brought a whole bunch of people into Comic-Cons and stuff that like they were not Comic-Con people. They were these ditzy, little teenage girls that had no clue about what Comic-Con was. And the people who really get into Comic-Con felt like this is not a good thing. We have all these crazy people here in our space, in our zone. This is not science fiction. This is not comic books. This is why is Twilight here? And it's not really their fault. I mean, it's not really Stephanie Meyer's fault. I mean, I'm sure somebody went, hey, we can get a lot of publicity for your films and for your book series by taking it to this. Anyway, I know a lot of people that were very upset over the fact that Twilight invaded nerddom. But the thing is, and I'll be straight honest with you here, I am a vampire fanatic. I love vampire stuff. I love anything to do with vampires. They recently did a remake of Dracula on Netflix. I thought that was pretty good. I loved Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves. I love vampire stuff. I love vampire films. I love vampire books. I love vampire anime. One of my favorite animes is called Vampire Knight, which I think is fantastic. Oh, hell, Adega Outlaw, thank you for popping in. But I really do just love anything vampire related. So I thought we're kind of lucky tonight because we've got my channel being the mega success that it is, was able to catch up. My reporters were able to catch up with the actors, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, who played the main characters for the Twilight films. So we're going to take a quick spin here. We're going to let me get this set up for everybody, and we're going to go and just cut into these. They were really short interviews, but we're gonna watch the one with Robert Pattinson first, and then we'll come back and talk about it. So we're gonna play that right now. So we are very lucky. We are being joined here today by Mr. Robert Pattinson, the one of the stars of the Twilight films. We're really grateful to have you here, Mr. Pattinson. Thank you for your time.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, that's great. So I hear there was some good news in your family recently that your brother Geode was recently cast in the High Republic comic series.
Yes, he's been excited about it all day.
Oh, that's good. So you guys have quite a bit of acting chops in your family.
Yes, our rock-solid acting has been passed down for generations.
Oh, yeah, that's great. So when you were acting in Twilight, how did you do it? Like, where did you find your inspiration?
From my father, Sedimentary.
Great. So he was Sedimentary, huh? Was he?
Yes, he was.
Oh, okay. And what about your mom? Does she have any great talents?
She's full of holes. Igneous.
Right. Oh, all right then. So we really want to thank you for being with us here today. Your energy and passion in this film was just totally, it was great.
Yes, thank you. I worked very hard to be interested.
All right, thank you. Great interview, right? I mean, captures the essence of Robert Pattinson and his acting abilities. It really does. And we were really lucky to get a hold of him. But even more lucky, I mean, with her busy schedule since coming out as a lesbian and everybody in the world deciding that made her a great actress, we were able to catch up with Kristen Stewart as well. So let's go ahead and watch that interview, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Hello, Ms. Stewart. Thank you for joining us here today. We know how busy your schedule is.
Yeah, recently a lot of people have been wanting me to come and be interviewed, so this isn't new for me.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. So tell us how did you get into acting?
Well, I think I've always just been a natural actor, and everything that you see on camera was just I was born with it. It's just my talent and passion.
Right. Okay. And so tell us, when you're trying to emote emotion, how do you achieve that?
Well, for sad, I do a face like this. And then for my happy face, I just do this. And then when I'm embarrassed, I kind of go like this. And that's it.
Okay. Well, that's something.
I mean, is there any other emotions you want me to express for you?
What does rage look like?
Oh, it looks kind of like this. Yeah. The essence, didn't you feel that?
I did. Well, we wanted to thank you for taking this time with us today, and good luck on all of your future endeavors. I am so sorry. Those were different interviews. They look really similar, though, don't they? I mean, right? I mean, you guys' comments, that was fantastic. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was sitting there this morning and I was just like, what am I going to do for this? Because I wanted to express to you guys what I felt about the casting for the films, the main two characters that were cast. Because, the sad thing is the rest of the cast for the film actually was not bad. But the problem was when you cast a stone-faced idiot and a plank of wood as your two main characters, it's not going to turn out good. That's not going to be happy. And that's seriously they ruined the films. That and the fact that they did not follow the book. The first film is by far and away the worst one out of all of them, as far as like them, like they did not follow the books. They did not spend enough time establishing why these two characters even liked each other, or the problems with the fact that we have a vampire and a human being falling in love with each other. The way that they made the, oh my gosh, the way that they I don't know. I don't know how to explain this. The way that they did the spark, like the way the vampires look in the sun was terrible. It was so bad. It was like, see, we were going to actually cover The Rock with glitter when we did the interview, because I have to give a big thank you to my son and my daughter who played the voices of Edward and Bella, or Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. The fact was, I kept having to tell them, no, you got too much emotion. You've really got to stop being emotional at all. You just deadpan it, dead. And we had to do it several times because he just kept trying to put too emotion in. I'm like, no, that's not how they were in the movies. So you got to take the emotion out. Anyway, hey, Curtis Wisey, I saw you pop in here. Thanks for popping in. Oh my gosh, it Team Slit's dumpster. Yes. A Day Outlaw. The thing is, if you've seen the movies, if you have not read the books, seriously, the movies will ruin this story for you. Like I said, everybody has their own opinions. And if you love Robert Pattinson, and if you love Kristen Stewart, and if you like what they did in the films, that's cool. That's cool. I nothing against anybody. Seriously. Everybody's going to like different things. Everybody's going to have different opinions on this. This is just mine. My opinion on these films were that they had good moments in them. The second movie actually followed the book probably the best out of all of them. In fact, I remember watching the making of that film, and that director said that was his main motivation. I'm just like, this man should be directing more films. I can't remember what the guy's name is, but his whole thing was, you know what? This is a popular book. This is a popular book series. I'm not here to try and change that. I'm here to bring that to the screen. And I'm just sitting there with my mouth hanging open going, why are you not literally like making all book adaptations? And the sad part was the second book was probably the weakest in the series, as far as there wasn't as much stuff going on. It's a lot of emotional up and down and stuff. But I mean, he really did a great job with it, with what he had. But yeah, so sorry, I'm getting way behind on the chat here. So this is Curtis YZ talking about Robert Pattinson. I think that's where he's. But yeah, I don't care for him as an actor. I didn't like him in Harry Potter's. I haven't seen him in well, I guess he was only in one of those, which is where he got his big break. So I haven't really seen, but just to hear what he's been doing on the new Batman film, I'm like, please, Lord, no. I'm like, he never should have been cast in the role. He has the wrong temperament. He has the wrong, he's just not. He is just not the right character for Batman. But I didn't particularly love Ben Affleck as Batman either. Christian Bale did a good job with Batman, but anyway, that's a whole different ball of wax. But yeah, I really do love the Twilight books. And I did not get into them on my own. My wife knows what a vampire fan I am. And so she got the book for me on audiobook because I'm on the road all the time. And so, I end up having to listen to audiobooks. It gives me something else to do. So she went and bought it for me because I wouldn't go and buy it for myself. I was like, eh. And I'm like, okay. So I started listening to it and just totally fell in love with the audiobook. I have literally listened to these audiobooks loads and loads and loads of times. I really like them. I like the reader. She's a little monotone, but she does a good job. And then in later books, they actually brought in a male reader, and they kind of went back and forth in the story. And I liked that. I thought they did a good job. So, but if you have not read the books, do not let the movies put you off reading the books. If you like a well thought out, fun, kind of cleverly written love story, that's an odd love story. It is, and they kind of mention this in the books, that it's the equivalent of a lion dating a lamb. I mean, it's the two things that should really not work together. And that's the whole idea of this. It's an impossible love story. It's an impossible romance. And the way it's written is really cute and clever, especially if you ever went through high school. If you ever went through high school and had to deal with emotional things and not being able to explain why you like somebody other than, I don't know, the superficial stuff that you like in high school. But no, it's just a really good series of books. Breaking Dawn, I thought, was really well done and went in a completely different direction. At first, when I was first listening to Breaking Dawn, I thought, oh, I am not going to like this. This is like when she becomes pregnant and all that. Oh my, yeah. It was not what I was looking for at the time. But then as it went on, I'm like, oh, and she completely surprised me with the way the book ended, with the way the story went. I mean, it really went in a different direction, and I really ended up liking what they did there. But I would encourage anybody who has not read the books to read the books. Don't let the movie sour you, because it will definitely sour you on this. But a lot of that, it was just because of Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. The gal they got to play Alice, I loved the gal they got to play Alice. Ashley Greene is her name. She should have been cast as Bella, in my opinion. She makes a great Alice, but she should have gotten cast as Bella. She would have made a much better Bella, way prettier than Kristen Stewart. I thought she did a better job acting. She actually had facial expressions, more than one. But yeah, no. So there seems to be another discussion going on in the chat about Tenet and some other stuff. I'm just looking to see you're catching up. And I think it got started with the Robert Pattinson thing. I'm lost because I'm trying to talk about one thing and I'm reading these other chats and I'm just like, I think I've lost the thread. But that's okay. That's okay. That's the great thing about chat is we get to talk about one thought leads to another thought leads to a thought that's way over there. So, I mean, that's the cool thing. And that's what makes it fun. Hello, Aaron Pincock 10. Thank you for popping in. But yes, I agree. I love the books. The books are fantastic. I just recently, I think somebody asked me in the chat before, I don't remember who it was. I apologize. She just came out with another book recently, which I was afraid was never going to get done because she had started it like 10 years ago. And it's called Midnight Sun. She started it, gave out a copy of it to some people to read to see if they liked what she was doing. Okay, it was Cred Sox. Thank you. And it's called Midnight Sun. It is Twilight written from Edward's perspective, and which I always kind of wanted because honestly, in that particular story, Edward's the more interesting character. Edward's the vampire. He's been alive for like almost 100 years. But I loved that book. That book was really good. And I mean, it's not like when people do prequels and do other things where they go in and the stories don't mesh up. It meshes up perfectly. You can set that one right next to Twilight and it meshes up, like the different things actually, it's going one for one with Twilight, but only from his perspective, which I thought was more interesting. Not just because I'm a guy, but because he's kind of the more interesting character in that book, really. Bella's great, and I love Bella as a heroine. We named our dog after Bella. Oh, that comes off sounding wrong, doesn't it? Anyway, but I like that name, and I liked her character. You know how you name things like your children and dogs on favorite character. But yeah, so no, it is a very, very good story. If you have not read Midnight Sun, it is worth getting. It really is. It really is a good book. And because the thing is, if you haven't, the things that you get in the book are way above and beyond what you get in the films. The films ended up being very superficial, very like they're not able to go into the depth of why this is even good in the first place, why people liked this. And I mean, the movies came and were gone and were basically, excuse the expression, but like it was a fart in the wind. I mean, it was a tempest in a teapot. It came, it went, it's gone. And now like everybody just makes fun of it. And it's kind of sad because the books were really great. I almost wish that they would take this and do an animated feature or do an animated series on anime or just anything using Twilight and follow the books. Because then you would actually be able to tell the story correctly, unlike they did in the films. But yeah. Yeah. And see, thank you for bringing that up, Cred Sox, because how we ended up going from Twilight to this 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey was written as a fan fiction with Twilight in mind. And I sit there and every time I hear that, I just go, how is that even possible? How is that possible? There is nothing similar whatsoever. I can't remember what they call that. SDM, DSM, dominatrixes. And I mean, how some sicko took what happened in Twilight and transmitted that into Dorian Gray. And I haven't read them. I just know some of the characters because I absolutely refuse to read stuff like that, especially where it bastardized something that I really liked. Thanks, badass. I am super straight. What are you talking about? I don't know. You're just a bigot, Pat F. I'm offended. Oh my gosh. Somebody told me I do that too well. Anyway, no. But yeah, there we go. Somebody, Chris Persian knew what I was talking about. BDSM. Yeah. How you got BDSM from Twilight? It's just, they're not even similar, not even close. Edward isn't a masochist, and neither is she. It's a simple high school. It's one of those things that happens in life, and that there really isn't any explanation. There really isn't. There is no explanation that describes how we got from point A to point B. Because they're not even similar, not even close. It broke my brain when somebody told me, hey, that's based off of Twilight. What? Oh, barf. Yeah, no, not. Hey, story time. Thanks for jumping in, Josh. Good to see you here. Pat S. I did say your name before, but yeah, thanks for popping in. And I am straight. I have 6 children, dang it. And I don't do that to just hide the fact that I'm gay. I mean, I am straight, and I'm serious. I mean it. I am. No, that is a problem. See, and here's my thing. I think this is why guys, and you tell me, guys in the chat, if you tell me if I'm wrong here, you don't like Twilight because you guys see it as a chick flick thing, as a girly, thing. And so like, or you saw girls reading the book and they were all like, oh, Edward, I love Edward, and I love Jacob has big muscles, and I love, because I think that's why a lot of men were put off by this. I looked at it as a vampire story because I like vampire stories. I really do. And this one that bothered me probably more than anything else with Twilight is the fact that they broke from vampire canon and they did not have fangs. They did not have, because that is my favorite part. Like if any of you who've watched the Underworld series, I take it back. I love the first two films and then not so much what they did afterwards. The other ones were okay, but like I didn't even see the last one. I have a thing for Celine. My wife knows that too. So, but yeah, I like just I can't even think of her name right now. But the girl who plays Celine in the Underworld films, oh my gosh, yes, she's yummy. And when she speaks with her regular British accent, even better. Even I have a thing for British accents, like most human beings, I think. Anyway, oh, Lady Miss, not straight and curved, bent, or twisted. I'm not bent, which means gay in England. But no, yeah, Kate Beckinsale. Thank you, Pat S. I love Kate Beckinsale. It's just wow. But yeah, the sad thing is that these movies ruined a perfectly good series of books. The same thing happened to another series of books called The Mortal Instruments that I liked. It's a younger person's story. And I find that I do tend to like a lot of young adult type novels. I mean, I like kind of everything, but the young adult novels are something that I really like. But that particular, like the what they did with the movie and then what they did with the TV series is don't follow the books at all. They're horrible. The characters are all twisted up and in a mess in that series, the Mortal Instruments series. And then what it went on to be, she wrote another series of books called the Clockwork series, which is actually by far and away the best of the series that she did. But yeah, no, But Twilight had all the potential in the world, and then they just ruined it by miscasting the film and by not being more faithful to the story. In the original Twilight, they bring in the three bad vampires way before they should have. They are not supposed to be in that film till right at the end. That's when they come in. That's when the everything gets going. The rest of that time is supposed to be building up this love story to actually, because without building up the love story, there's no reason for this film to exist. There's no reason for these books to exist and that's what they're doing. They're building up this possible thing that this impossible love story that these two people are having to fight to actually be in love with each other and to make it work without the one killing the other one. Because that's one of the cool things in this story is that Bella's blood calls out to Edward in a way that like it doesn't normally do. Like he's drawn to her blood like a crack addict is drawn to crack. That's the way it's described in the book. Like it's heroin for him. Like he wants her blood more than anything else and has to constantly fight that because through trying not to become this horrible vampire that he's trying not to be, like most vampires are, and they're not. They're what they call vegetarians. It's a joke between their vampire group. But it's just, and that's what they build the whole story around. So if you don't do that right, the rest of it doesn't make any sense. And the guy that they got to play Bella's dad in the films was fantastic. And that's one thing that wasn't in the book that was in the films is when he's sitting there and you meet Edward, when he meets Edward for the first time, he's cleaning a shotgun at the table. And I told my daughters I was going to do this every time they brought a boy over to the house. It's because he's sitting there. He's like, all right, he's coming in, Dad. And he's like, all right, bring him in. And he closes the double barrel shotgun. And she's like, be nice. The guy that plays his dad, and I can't think of the actor's name or her dad, was really, really good. and did a great job as her dad. When I read the books, I saw he was just in the Loki series as her dad. The way he's described in the book, he comes off more like Owen Wilson than the guy that they got to play him. But the guy that got to play him actually did a great job and was really good. Yeah, and Pattis, they do drink animal blood. That's how they survive. But they talk about the fact that every once in a great while, there's a human that will appeal to them more in a way than anybody else. And that, like Emmett and a couple of others have actually killed a couple of humans because of it. Like it hit them so powerfully, so strong, they killed the human beings before they could even stop themselves. Billy Burt, thank you, Cred Sox. That was the guy that played the dad. But he actually like Emmett killed somebody because of the same thing that draws Edward to Bella and her blood. And so there's a lot of stuff going on under the surface in the books that they didn't cover. They didn't do anything with it in the films. And because of that, the love story just doesn't seem to have the weight that it should. And so the rest of the movie series is just like, I don't even get why these two are together. I don't even understand why they like each other. And we have two actors who can't express more than this. Oh, Edward, I love you so much. Yes, Bella, and I love you. And when you've got that going on, good Lord. Seriously. Now, maybe Robert Pattinson's a better actor than I give him credit for. Kristen Stewart is not. Anything I have ever seen her in, she might as well be Weekend at Bernie's Dead, being drug around on the screen going, okay, pack her over here. We got another scene to do. It's just, But I mean, I think maybe he did what he could. I mean, because Curtis YZ was saying that he likes him as an actor. So maybe he's better in other things. And he just couldn't do anything with what they gave him to do in this. But seriously, the lady that directed the first one, she didn't get what this was about. She didn't understand. And then because that was the one that set up the others, it just didn't come through. So, but yeah, Edward can't read her. Yes. And, Josh, that's fantastic. Yeah, Edward, that's why Edward can't read her mind, because there's just nothing happening in there. It's just dust balls and yeah. But yeah, no, it is, but yeah, sorry, I've got to catch up on some of the chat here. As Suki is to Bill, and I've never seen True Blood, so yeah, I wouldn't know. So I'll take your word for that, Chris Purge. That's another series I need to. I heard that got too. I don't know. There's a lot of vampire series that have been done that I'm just like, I'm afraid they're just going to try and go to Days of Our Lives with it, and I'm like, no, and I don't like that. But yeah. Yes, the books do go into great detail about why they are the way they are, why they're living where they are, why they're trying to act more human and stuff. And it's just, you really get a feel for this world that Stephenie Meyers created. And the crazy thing is, and one of the things I love more than anything else is the backstory of how this actually came about. This all came about because Stephenie Meyer had a dream. This was a dream that she had. She woke up and went and put it on paper, and then I'm sure filled in the blanks, because who knows what the dream was actually totally like. But that's where this came from. She had a dream and then created this series out of a dream that she had. I mean, that's crazy. That is something that is pretty cool. The fact that, her mind came up with this, her subconscious, and then she made something amazing out of it. And then Hollywood took it and just turned it into a giant dumpster fire, like Odega was saying. I'm on Team Dumpster Fire, because that's what the films were. But like I said, there were the secondary cast deserved much better main characters to work with, because I mean, everybody else in that film, for the most part, really, really did a good job. The guy that plays Edward's dad, Carlisle Cullen, the lady that plays the mom did a great job. But it's just like everybody else was great. But you can't save films if the two main characters suck so bad that the supporting cast just cannot support that kind of blah. It's just not possible. I'll bet you do. Aaron, you're the one that made it for me. So yes. Yeah. This was made for me by one of the people in the chat, by Aaron. So Josh is saying that Robert Pattinson did a lot of stage work after the films. He's an okay actor. Kristen Stewart is boring and everything. She is terrible. The only thing interesting about her now is that he turned her into a lesbian. I mean, yay. Boy, that's got to be a knock to the old male ego there when you actually cause your former to think she likes girls. But yeah, no, that's horrible actress. Alice was perfect. Alex, like I said, I was saying that earlier. I don't know if you were in here, Kamikaze D, when I was talking about that, but she should have been cast as Bella. Ashley Greene was so good as Alice. She could have played any one of those parts and done a phenomenal job. And the sad thing is, I haven't seen her in anything since. She did like one film after the Twilight series, and it was like a horror film. That was it. And I haven't seen her in anything else, which is sad because she is absolutely drop dead gorgeous and really did a great job. And I think she's a decent actress, if we just got to see her in something else. But Team Van, that almost yes, that could have ended that whole film series just that fast. Just, Edward, don't save her. Let that thing just mash her. Not Bella, but maybe it'll knock Kristen Stewart out of Bella. That would be good. Red Sox. Yeah, quote, that is one big yeah, yes, she is. And you can't save a series of films when you've cast your main actress and actor that just can't pull it off. Everything rides on them. Seriously, without them being the characters they need to be, without them being the actors that have the chops to pull it off, this was never going to work in film. It just wasn't. So I would seriously tell you, go read these books. And if you come back and tell me, Brian, you suck, you're terrible, that's wrong, I didn't like the books at all. You can't go at this from the guy's perspective. Because look, my wife loves chick flicks. Seriously loves chick flicks. Constantly is trying to drag me to chick flicks. And it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, no. Because she drags me to these chick flicks that are the chickiest chick flicks you have ever seen in your life. That they are. All right. There's one called Love Comes Softly. I don't know if anybody else has seen it. It's not a bad show, but the problem is that with most chick flicks, they create these male characters that don't exist in nature. They create these men that do not exist. These perfect men. Pardon me. That snuck up on me. That like fawn over women and just cater to their every whims and don't have feelings of their own and just he's so gorgeous and he just does whatever she tells him like a little slave and I wish I had it. Okay, it says a lot about women. But I mean, guys are the same. We just want different things. But seriously, pardon me, a little tickle in my throat. But seriously, this was never that for me. And the books don't come off that way. The Edward is a realistic character. He's a real character who has problems. He totally loves Bella, but she totally loves him. There's a good balance there of back and forth, and that you don't get in a lot of chick flicks. I don't like chick flicks. Although I will have to say I like the movie like Steel Magnolias because it's funny. It's got some really funny characters in it. Fried Green Tomatoes is a chick flick I can sit down and watch, but for the most part, sorry, no, it's just not. Yes, it is out. It is out right now. In fact, it's been out for a couple months. They're predictable. Yes. Chick flicks they have a formula. Girl who's flawed, has some issues. There's a guy that comes along, loves her for all of her crazy, psychotic, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, and no guy has that level of patience. And no girl should expect any guy to just fawn over them 24 hours. Like The Notebook. I've never seen The Notebook because it's one of those films I'm just like, I don't want to be compared to that. Because like I love my wife. I love my wife and I do a lot for my wife and I try and be a good husband. But I'm not one of these fairy tale male characters that show up in chick flicks. And so I just don't like sitting, because usually after we watch one of those films, my wife will look over at me and go, I wish you would write a sonnet for me, and how come you don't do? And I don't really want to have that conversation ever again. So, but yeah. Oh yes. Adega Outlaw just also named one of my favorite all-time chick flicks, Somewhere in Time. Gosh dang, that's a good show. Yeah, Christopher Reeves. It's an older film. It's an older chick flick. So good. Jane Seymour and Christopher Reeves. That's how a chick flick should be. Realistic characters, realistic people who fall in love. They're not perfect. They work through their flaws. I mean, they're just, well, that's a good show. Yeah, the chick flick is set in the deep south. Speaker is in. Are you saying I got an accent? I'm not even from the South. I'm from Idaho. We don't have I didn't think we had an accent. Anyway, speakers. Now you're making me self-conscious about my accent. I'm sitting here trying to think, do I sound like that? You should hear me when I get on the CB when I'm driving truck, because that automatically brings out the South in any human being. Just the fact of keying up the microphone and putting it next to your mouth makes you from Alabama, just like that. Seriously. I've seen people from New York climb in a truck and go, how y'all doing? And it's like, and then when they turn to talk to you, they're like, hey, you know what? Anyway, sorry, bad joke. But no, it's these books deserved better. And I wish, I really do wish that they would have done with them what they should have done, because the story underneath, and the motivations of the characters, why they did what they did, just really, really was different. It was unique. It was a reimagining of vampires and vampire lore. And like when they talk about the sparkly skin of the vampires, I never saw it the way it's portrayed in the film. The way it's portrayed in the film is like somebody ran up and grabbed a palm, like one of those puff things that women use to put like rouge and went up and went in the face with a big old pile of glitter. And no, that is not what they were supposed to look like. When he was caught in the sunlight, he was supposed to. It makes him look inhuman. I mean, it's kind of beautiful, but it's like the beauty of a diamond, the way it's described it's inhumanly beautiful, but like, because just being around them makes people uneasy. Even in the book, like people see them, they're attracted to their beauty. And because that's part of the lore. They're a predator species. They're like they're described in the book as like a beautiful flower that's poison. You know, in nature, some of the most vicious things are beautiful. Some of the most deadly flowers are beautiful flowers are poisonous. or like Venus flytrap. You know, it's just this little thing, but it sits there and it eats its own, you know, it eats prey. That it's just, and that's how she describes it. Yeah, Krensock, he is not a walking glitter tube. And I sat there when they did that in the movies. I'm just like, no, just like when a human walks up to somebody like Edward or you know, any vampire, they're instantly both attracted and repelled because they can feel the menace. And that's never portrayed in the film. Like nobody feels like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Both being enamored and terrified at the same time. That's what they were supposed to be portraying. In the scene where, in the first movie, where Bella is being accosted by the thugs in Port Angeles, Edward's supposed to race up in his car, get out, walk up to these guys, and by the sheer menace of him, the waves of menace coming off of him, and then he's supposed to growl. He never growled. And when they growl, it's supposed to be this inhuman sound, like that's just like that would make a human being pee their pants. You know, that's the menace that's supposed to come off of them when they're not trying to be just docile and fit in. And that never gets portrayed. Their teeth are supposed to be like razors. Like, and they should have done something. If they weren't going to do the fangs, they should have done something to kind of give their teeth an otherworldly look. So, because it says even when Edward smiles at people, he'll accidentally make people uncomfortable. Like if he smiles too much or too broadly in the book, like he smiles at the secretary and he gets a little too exuberant and kind of freaks her out. But none of that's portrayed in the film. And so you just like, he ends up coming off like a teenager and like, there's nothing like, you don't understand the menace and why this is such a taboo thing for him and her to fall in love. But yeah, it's, WKRP. Was there a WKRP in Cincinnati? I don't know if that was me or if that was somebody else. Oh, hail brightest day. Sorry you popped in there and I saw you and I didn't call that out. I apologize. But yeah, it's no, it really, the Volturi, when they're brought into the story, like I love the guy that plays the main Volturi character. But he did some things in acting choices that if I was the director, I'd have been like, cut. Okay, dude, when you laugh like that, that's not menacing. He's like, oh, I hear her. And I'm like, what is he doing? What? I'm like, no, that is not what, that is not what he would have done. He was not a goofy character, not at all. And I love the guy that play, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head either. But he's the main Volturi character. But yeah, no, it's Flytrap overnight DJ. Oh, you lost me, Pat. Sorry, I may be missing a couple of things. Because I get talking and then I'm not paying attention to chat, and then I look down the chat and I'm like, oh, I missed something, or I've said something and I don't remember. Yeah, so I apologize. It's, you know, it's kind of like there's a movie called Noises Off with Carol Burnett, Christopher Reeves, really funny. Carol Burnett's character is kind of losing their mind a little bit, and she talks about her brain being a little bit like a slot machine. That's how mine works most of the days. I never know when I pull something if I'm going to get 2 lemons and an orange, or, you know, I never know what words are going to come rolling out of my mouth, because it's Michael Sheen. Thank you. You know what, Cred Sox? I need you here just to be the other half of my brain, just to be like, all right, Brian can't think of it, so I'm going to help him out because he's apparently dumb. No, thank you. Michael Sheen. He's a tremendous actor. I love him in everything. I loved him in Underworld. I loved him in, see, there we go. Passengers. He was in Passengers. He plays the bartender. He's like one of 3 people in that film. But he's been in some really great stuff, and he always does a good job. But in the Twilight films, I was just like, no. There was parts that he did that were okay, and parts that he did that weren't. Yeah, no, I just so I wish they would have. And that, see, to me, that comes off as a failure on the director's part. The director should have stopped him and said, "Look, Michael, I know what you're going for here, but not that. I mean, if you're going to laugh, you've got to do kind of a different laugh. You're more of a maniacal character than a crazy lunatic character." And the Volturi just did not end up coming off nearly as menacing as they should have been. These are the vampires who control the vampire world. If anything goes wrong, they show up and wipe out the offending vampires to keep vampirism a secret. Trotton Legacy, thank you. That's another one he was fantastic in. But yeah, it's just these are books that deserve better than what we got from Hollywood. The way they were shot, some of the casting was terrible. Like some of the casting for the high school kids, there was an Asian kid that was supposed to play Eric, and he was never described that way. He becomes a much bigger character in the series than he was ever intended to be. By like the second book, Eric's like basically almost non-existent as a character, and we end up with Ben, who's dating Judith. I lost her name. One of Bella's friends. See what I mean, Cred Sox? I need another half a brain, or another full brain to make up for what I'm not. Anyway, Angela. There, I got it. It's just there's two oranges and a pineapple. But yeah, so Ben was supposed to come in and become this character for Angela's boyfriend. He was supposed to be shorter than her, and in Midnight Sun, I'm gonna spoil just a teeny bit of Midnight Sun. We find out that Edward is the reason why Ben Chaney, I got his last name, Ben Chaney ends up dating Angela. And there's Midnight Sun really does a cool job of flushing out Edward's character and helping you understand him, because he comes off as a lame goofball in the films. He's a murderer. He left Carlisle for a period of time and hunted humans. And because he could read people's minds, he hunted like rapists and murderers and child sex offenders. And like he would kill criminals, like violent, vicious criminals that he knew was, that they were terrible people. And he did that for years. He became every bit of a nightmare vampire as any vampire that's ever been described in literature. And then because he starts to feel bad, because he can hear the thoughts of every person that he's killing, even though they're horrible people. He still has to, he becomes traumatized by guilt for all the deaths that he's caused. And he goes back to Carlisle and recommits. But I mean, that area of his life is never really discussed. In Midnight Sun, it is. They talk about how he would hunt people, how he, what he did and where he would go. And it is a lot better look into Edward's character. But we don't even get what they talked about in Twilight in the movies. Like Edward's just a very two-dimensional, both of them end up being very two-dimensional and like, sorry, my phone's beeping at me. But yeah, so it's, but yeah, Jacob, the way he's described in the book, he's an American Indian. He ends up being like 6'7" tall, like 6'7" tall in the book, because I mean, he starts out maybe the size that he is in the films, but then as he hits his growth spurt and he's starting to become the wolf, he becomes huge. I mean, I realized they couldn't just like grab that kid and stretch him out and make him, suddenly an NBA basketball player, but that's how he's described in the books. But the kid that plays Jacob actually did a pretty good job. And really tried. I mean, and he beefed up for that role. He went and like worked out, and because they were going to change him out, they were going to get a different actor to play him in the second and third and fourth films than the kid that was playing it in the first, because he wasn't big and buff enough. So he went, got a trainer, and worked out till he buffed up big enough to fit the character. I mean, that's something I'm impressed by, that kind of dedication, no matter what, by any actor, unlike Robert Pattinson, who won't lift anything more than a bagel to get ready for his role as Batman. Kind of sad. But anyway, so that's my take on Twilight. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it's made you think, maybe I ought to go read the books because the movies suck, you know, and maybe I should wash my brain out with a better version of that story. But I mean, I like I said, I like vampire stuff in general. In fact, in a few weeks, we're going to be talking Vampire Night on thanks, Adega. I appreciate that. We're going to be talking Vampire Night as an anime. We're going to do a couple of other vampire based Rosario and a vampire. We're going to talk about some other vampire animes. I'm going to start breaking up the anime stuff with other series and other things. Because I don't want people to think all I do is talk about anime. I love anime, but there's a huge world of things out there to discuss. But let's see. I felt left out with the deleting. The deleting? Sorry. Did I delete you, Adega? Or are you talking about something else? But Adega was booing me in the chat because of these. And you know what? There are going to be people who just don't like these. No matter what. There's always going to be someone who's just like, you know what? I don't like that story. I don't like what she did with that. You know what? And that's cool. Seriously, that is cool. Because I mean, everybody's different. Everybody likes something a little different. There's, you know, my tastes are very eclectic. Like if you were to pick up my phone and look through my music, and I had somebody call me on this one time because we were out doing something at like a picnic or something. I just had my music playing in the background. It was just randomly going through music. I just had it set to go through random. And it went from Rob Zombie, a Rob Zombie song to like Beethoven's Fifth, because it was just randomly choosing through my library. And the guy looked over at me and he was like, "Ooh, what is this?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, sorry, man. My music tastes are a little eclectic." But yeah, no, so my tastes in music and everything just kind of are all over the map. I like kind of a lot of everything. So yeah, you might find some of my tastes in things weird, but that's okay. That's okay. You're starting a trend. Uh-oh. See, now I missed something else again. Yeah, Van Helsing. I haven't seen all the way through Van Helsing. I started and then kind of missed it. Oh, yeah, I must be. You have to see the YouTube chat, not the stream. Oh, am I missing people in the chat? Oh, that pisses me off. I'm missing people's comments. I thought it was. I thought they were stuck together. Great. Now I feel bad. I didn't even know that was a thing. So thanks for bringing that up. I'll have to start like bringing up YouTube on the other screen and try and check and make sure I'm not missing stuff. So if I missed your chat in there this week, I apologize, because all I see is the StreamYard ones. So if it wasn't popping up through StreamYards, I don't get to see it. So it was not that I was trying to miss your chats. I sincerely apologize if you said something and I didn't get it. Maybe that explains why I'm so confused by my own chat sometimes. I'm like, I'm missing something. I've missed something somewhere along the way. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing next week. I think we will be talking about, because I pushed the stream that's supposed to be this week back. So we will be talking Howl's Moving Castle next week. It is by far and away my favorite of all the Hayao Miyazaki's films from Studio Ghibli. I like most of them, but it is by far and away my favorite. So we will be talking Howl's Moving Castle next week, and then we'll just go from there. I have changed, as I've said before, I changed my work schedule, so things are a little different for me now. And until things get changed, until I know how that change is going to affect my live streams, I'll just kind of keep you updated, because I will be getting home off the road on Sundays now, but it should be fairly early in the day. So I think I can keep my streams exactly the same time, and same bat time, same bat channel. So we'll see, but yeah, things are going to be changing just a little bit. I do like Princess Mononoke. It's good. So thank you everyone who's been in here. Please come and talk to us next week. Go watch Howl's Moving Castle, and we will discuss it next week, and probably Studio Ghibli in general a little bit. We just did one the other week, Spirited Away, which is one my kids really, really like. But yeah, no, Howl's Moving Castle is just, man, it's mind-boggling how good that is. So thanks everybody for being here. And we will catch you all next week on Speaking with the Speaker. Thanks for being here.